So you played a few games of First Strike and Flesh and Blood. And now you want to come to the real meat. You want to join the classic constructed side of Flesh and Blood. The format that has played the most in Flesh and Blood, and that are major tournaments held in classic constructed. And then you look at the shelf in your local game store, or you are looking online and you see a few different decks that you can buy and play out of the box and that are made to compete at your local armory. So you're not sure which one you want to choose, because there are a few options out there now, even more than we see here on the table, and you want to make the right decision. So I am here to help you. I discovered Flesh and Blood 3 years ago, and so I want to welcome you here at the Fabled Academy. My name is Alex, and today we will talk about exactly this: how to choose the right armory deck for you. I think this is the perfect point to start your classic constructed experience in Flesh and Blood. It's also a pretty cheap way to get started, and it's also a powerful way to get started, because every armory deck holds a few new pieces of cards that are only available in these armory decks. So new players and old players can both get something out of this box. But you want to get into the game and you're thinking about it. Which hero is the one that I want to play? And I have to say, at our local game store, we have a player that is not playing Flesh and Blood that much, and he bought this Kayo Armory deck and he crushed our armory with it. He got second place with it, just out of the box. He didn't change anything, just played with Kayo Armory deck like it is here. And that is something that is, I think, pretty astonishing, because most hardcore Flesh and Blood players love all their cards, and they are refining their decks, and they are investing a lot of money in their cards. And then you are coming around with a 35 euro Kayo Armory deck and beating them to the ground. So I think when you want to have a really powerful and also a pretty easy deck to play, Kayo is for sure a right choice. But maybe Kayo isn't something for you, so you're taking a look at maybe Azalea, who has also a different playstyle than Kayo. She doesn't really go that wide, but she can disrupt the opponent and do some pretty big damage. It's a more mid-range style, but maybe you're not really familiar with the different playstyles. So when talking about aggro playstyle, mid-range playstyle, combo playstyle, there's only question marks in your head. And I know that feeling for sure. Like, I still today have a lot of question marks when, playing the games of Flesh and Blood, because there's so much to learn. But that is the interesting part about it, right? You can learn so much, you can have a lot of fun and meet new people, and then also the product design is just so amazing. So I really like that they did the no plastic wrapping for the Azalea deck, for Kayo and Boltyn. Here you can see it. They choose to do a plastic wrapper around it. I don't have the Dash.io deck. That is an option that you can buy at the moment too. But I think that one might also have no plastic wrapping. Dash.io is also pretty relevant in the meta at the moment. So if you want to go to a calling, if you want to go to a pro quest, maybe Dash.io is a good choice too. Buy some extra cards for that and then see what you can do with it. But the best tip, I think, that now that we are 4 minutes in the video, I want to give you is that if I would start again with Flesh and Blood and I'm looking as a new player on these armory decks, I would just choose the deck that I think I like the most when looking at it, when looking at the hero. Because when looking at the hero, that is the main center point of your deck. Of course, you have your deck that you're drawing cards of, and you're having your equipment that is lying in the arena that you are utilizing in the course of the game. But it is really the hero that you can fall in love with. Of course, the playstyle is very different with heroes that you can play in Flesh and Blood. And that is why these different armory decks are perfect to discover them. So you can even buy, for example, I like Azalea of the 3 that are here the most. I would start with Azalea. And then maybe I think, okay, this mid-range playstyle, I like it. But maybe I want to try aggro. So I buy the Kayo deck afterwards. And then it's a fairly decent investment, right? It is a lot cheaper than buying all the singles or diving into net decking of a pro deck list on February and saying like, okay, I buy this Crown of Providence, I buy those Command and Conquerors, and then I spend 300 euros on a deck, and then I also want a Fiandal's Fighting Spirit, the tunic, excuse me. The Fighting Spirit is pretty cheap. But rather with these armory decks, you have the chance to try the game out. And that on a budget, I would say, after you've played your first strike decks. Or you have a little bit of experience with maybe a blitz deck. And I think that is the beauty of the armory decks, that for a reasonable price, you can jump into a tournament. It is ready out of the gate. You don't have to, you don't really have to optimize anything, right? I mean, for sure, when going with Kayo, you want to maybe get some Blood Rush Bellows, right? That is something that every Kayo player wants. But you don't need to. The deck is good out of the gate, and even if you get some Blood Rush Bellows, they are pretty cheap. So if you're interested in seeing like how to do a cheap upgrade to your armory deck, we can also do a video like that. Let me know down in the comments if you want to see something like that. And also there are new armory decks coming out. So maybe you are not playing that much Flesh and Blood. Let's face it, not everyone can play on a regular basis 2 or 3 times every week at a local game store. Maybe there are not that many games played at your local game store yet, maybe once a week. Maybe you go there every 2 weeks and then you don't want to spend hundreds and hundreds of euros on your decks. So you can try out these different armory decks and then decide which route do I want to go down more deeply. Do I want to go with Azalea, the Ranger? Maybe, get some better arrows. Maybe get some, legendaries for her. Or maybe you discovered Boltyn and you saw, okay, Boltyn is pretty interesting because I can play different weapons in Boltyn. I can do full combo. I can do the Decimator Great Axe thing. And now you're saying like, what? What are you talking about? I don't have a clue. So in Flesh and Blood, you are playing with a hero and a weapon on board in the arena, as it's called in Flesh and Blood. And so you can choose different weapons. You can not only play with the weapon that you're getting in the armory decks, you can also play with other weapons depending on the meta, on your matchups, or on the playstyle you want to go for. And Boltyn is a prime example for that. In Kayo, I have to say you have a few options too, but mainly you're playing with the claw. And in Boltyn you can go sabers, Decimator Great Axe, his signature weapon. There are so many different options and only more options are coming out. And so I think Boltyn is pretty interesting if you want to discover the different playstyles with weapons. And also for Azalea, there are different bows that you can try out, which are pretty cheap to buy. So even when you are getting this armory deck and you just buy a few new bows for Azalea, that's pretty exciting to try out, right? And then I have to say, Dash.io, I don't have it here, but Dash.io, that's so interesting. Now, Dash.io is playing on a very different axis, and you can do some really, really powerful turns with her. And I'm super stoked to see what she will do in the meta in the near future. Also, when coming to Worlds in Osaka and the ProQuest season, when we see the meta breakdowns. So one deck that is left to talk about at the moment is Jarl. I did a video already, covering how I think that Flesh and Blood is not really the same anymore. Now that Jarl, the Armory deck Origins is coming out, and I started on Old and Blitz deck back then, so we are in exciting and great times for Flesh and Blood and also for new players joining Flesh and Blood. But I think Jarl is, he might be a little bit more difficult to play. Maybe, I don't know it yet. The deck is not out yet, but for me at least it was like that. In the beginning when joining, I think, these heroes here, especially Kayo, is a little bit easier to play. And then Jarl might be a little bit more on the difficult side. Boltyn. I heard a lot of different opinions about Boltyn. I mean, the things have changed up with Boltyn, right? A lot of pro players showed what is possible with Boltyn. He's a fan favorite too. So if you want to learn more about Boltyn, definitely check out my channel. There are a lot of interviews and deck profiles about him with pro players who know really well how to play Boltyn. But I think you can make it more difficult than it should be. But Boltyn is, I think, definitely a very interesting hero to play with, who you can have very powerful turns. So building up to those powerful turns. And Kayo is just consistent machine. So having a lot of wide turns, having big turns, and that just on a consistent basis. But just in general, I think if you are thinking about buying an armory deck, just choose one who you think the hero is the most amazing, because in the end, it's not about who is playing the best or who is the best player with the best deck. It's mostly for me about the fun in the game. Of course, we want to play good games, we want to be good at the game, but when starting, I think it's most important to just choose the hero that is fitting you the most. For example, my favorite hero is Fire Rising Rebellion, a draconic ninja. We don't have an armory deck for Fire, but I love Fire and I would play him even if I know he's not the best deck. I also really like Azalea. I played her even before the armory deck came out, so I'm really happy that I have this armory deck now, even though I don't have the CC deck for Azalea that I had anymore, so I can just play some games with Azalea, even on a budget. Definitely let me know which deck do you want to choose after watching this video. Are you leaning more towards Boltyn? Do you think Kayo is the best, or is it Dash.io for you? Or do you want to wait some more and play Jarl, the new armory deck that is coming out at the end of November, which is not that far away, but still, if you want to buy now, then these 4 decks, including Dash.io, are a lot of big options that you can choose from. So let me know if we should talk more about these armory decks. I definitely want to. I think I will make more videos about their armory decks, playing with them, going over the cards that are in the decks, and also how to upgrade it. But definitely, if you watch that far, leave a like on the video so other beginners for Flesh and Blood can find it too on YouTube and it gets recommended to them. And also comment down below. Like I said, I'm really curious to hear what your experiences is in Flesh and Blood, what kind of decks you are interested in to play, and how did you discover Flesh and Blood? Are you a new player? So definitely thank you so much for joining in today's video, and we see us in the next one.